Welcome to Hong Kong Brief. The content of the briefing includes: Cathay says pilot flying hour caps, illness led to flight cuts. Hong Kong luxury retail sector likely to rebound in 2024 as brands return. Ordinary buyers eye China's foreclosed home bargains as investors retreat. Does China's new court record system signal return to judicial black box? Taiwan, presidential candidates debate in shadow of China. Cathay says pilot flying hour caps, illness led to flight cuts. Bloomberg. Cathay Pacific has acknowledged that pilots reaching or nearing their flying hour limits contributed to flight cancellations over the holiday period. The airline canceled 9% of its planned departures from Hong Kong on December 30 and a further 6 flights on January 2. The carrier is currently contending with a shortfall of cockpit crew, with the number of pilots on staff down by 35% from the end of 2019. Cathay operated nearly 8% more flights per day on average over the Christmas and New Year period compared to its typical schedule. Hong Kong luxury retail sector likely to rebound in 2024 as brands return. South China Morning Post. Hong Kong's luxury retail market is expected to recover some lost ground in 2024 as high-end brands return to the city after being impacted by protests and pandemic restrictions. Hong Kong Land, the largest commercial landlord in the city's main business district, is optimistic about brands and tenants expanding their presence. Luxury brands such as Sotheby's and the Macallan are taking advantage of cheaper rates for premium space. However, the slow recovery in spending by mainland Chinese tourists is still affecting the luxury retail market. Ordinary buyers eye China's foreclosed home bargains as investors retreat. South China Morning Post. Ordinary home buyers in China are becoming the leading buyers in the foreclosed home market as they take advantage of oversupply and the country's sluggish economy. These buyers are attracted by the lower prices of foreclosed properties, which typically sell below market value. The supply of foreclosed properties has surged this year due to the lifting of the mainland's zero-COVID rules, resulting in a sharp decline in prices. Previously, investors dominated the market for foreclosed properties, but many have been forced out by purchasing restrictions and the longer reselling period required for repossessed homes. Does China's new court record system signal return to judicial black box? South China Morning Post. China is building a new verdict site for internal use by judges and court staff, which has led to concerns about transparency and access to judicial rulings. The current public database, China Judgments Online, CJO, has seen a reduction in the number of decisions made public in recent years. The Supreme People's Court has stated that the reduced number of published decisions is due to security and privacy concerns, and emphasized that openness does not mean everything needs to be made public. The move to restrict access to court rulings comes as Beijing tightens control over data and information it deems sensitive. Legal professionals and academics have criticized the move, calling it destructive and totally unacceptable. They argue that open access to judicial documents is essential for the rule of law and justice. The restrictions on access to the new database raise concerns about corruption and the future of China's judiciary. The reduction in public access to court rulings also goes against the sunshine judiciary principle that the Supreme People's Court had previously promoted. China Judgments Online, CJO, was launched in 2013 as a way to increase transparency and public access to court decisions. It has become a go-to resource for lawyers, judges, and scholars in and outside of China. The reduction in the number of cases posted on CJO has raised concerns among legal professionals and the public about the future of judicial transparency in China. Taiwan, presidential candidates debate in shadow of China. Deutsche Welle. Presidential candidates in Taiwan have argued over the island's relationship with Beijing in a TV debate. The Democratic Progressive Party, DPP, has campaigned on a platform of sovereignty separate from China. The DPP's candidate Lai Ching-te described himself as a pragmatic worker of Taiwan independence. However, his opponents accused the current vice president of trying to undermine Taiwan's security. The Kuomintang, KMT, party candidate, Ho Uih, accused Lai of smearing him, saying he opposed both Taiwan's independence and China's one country, two systems model of autonomy. Immigration scheme will attract the well-off. SCMP opinion. Hong Kong has launched a new immigration scheme aimed at attracting high-net-worth individuals and their families to the city. The new capital investment entrance scheme requires applicants to invest 30 million Hong Kong dollars, $3.9 million US, in local stocks or other assets in order to qualify for Hong Kong residency. The scheme hopes to bring in 120 billion Hong Kong dollars worth of investment to Hong Kong per year, benefiting the city's professional services, particularly wealth management. However, some experts have questioned whether the scheme's target is too optimistic. Why Hong Kong is the world's finest place to island hop. Telegraph. Hong Kong's largest island, Lantau, is home to small villages, mountainous terrain and beautiful beaches. A 50-minute ferry ride from Hong Kong Island takes visitors to the quiet town of Mui Wa, from where they can explore Lantau's attractions. One highlight is Chung Sha Beach, a white strip of sand that stretches for almost 2 miles. Another option is to take a 20-minute inter-island ferry to Pung Chau, a tranquil island where time seems to slow down. The island is home to a range of shops, the Fuk Yuan Leather Factory and the Lung Mo Temple. More needs to be done for the elderly in our ethnic minorities. SCMP opinion. Hong Kong's elderly population is facing challenges in accessing support and services, particularly for non-Chinese individuals. Language barriers and a lack of cultural sensitivity make it difficult for ethnic minorities to find care providers and residential homes that meet their needs. Amid a fast-aging population, ethnic minority families are also struggling to access subsidized care services for the elderly, with long waiting times for limited resources. To address this issue, there is a need for policies that encourage service providers to be more sensitive to the different needs of ethnic minorities, including hiring workers with English language proficiency and catering to different diets and religious practices. Chief Executive John Lee Ka-chiu has pledged to enhance support for ethnic minorities in various areas, including welfare, education, jobs, and integration, in an effort to create a more caring and inclusive society. Tesla zeroes in on everyday buyers after winning over EV lovers. Bloomberg. Tesla is expected to announce record deliveries in 2023, surpassing its goal to deliver 1.8 million vehicles. However, the company now faces the challenge of expanding its customer base to include everyday buyers, who prioritize price and ease of use. Tesla has reduced prices across its lineup and is experimenting with advertising to appeal to a wider audience. The company is also revamping existing models and planning to release new ones to boost sales. Despite these efforts, some analysts are skeptical about Tesla's ability to maintain its growth in the face of increased competition and an aging product lineup. Sports on TV for Sunday, December 31st. Associated Press. The following is the schedule for today's sporting events. College basketball, men's. Washington St. at Colorado at 2 p.m. Omaha at South Dakota at 3 p.m. Arizona at Stanford at 4 p.m. Bryant at Mississippi at 4 p.m. Washington at Utah at 6 p.m. Arizona St. at California at 8 p.m. College basketball, women's. Wake Forest at Florida St. at 12 p.m. Clemson at North Carolina at 12 p.m. Illinois at Indiana at 12:30 p.m. Dakota St. at North Dakota at 1 p.m. Notre Dame at Syracuse at 2 p.m. Radford at Vanderbilt at 2 p.m. Maryland at Nebraska at 2:30 p.m. Louisville at Miami at 4 p.m. NC State at Virginia at 6 p.m. College hockey, men's. Harvard at UConn at 3 p.m. Horse racing. NYRA, America's Day at the Races at 2:30 p.m. IHF hockey, men's. World Junior Championship Group Stage, Slovakia vs US, Group B at 6 a.m. World Junior Championship Group Stage, Sweden vs Finland, Group A at 8:30 a.m. World Junior Championship Group Stage, Switzerland vs Czech Republic, Group B at 11 a.m. World Junior Championship Group Stage, Germany vs Canada, Group A at 1:30 p.m. NBA G League Basketball. G League Ignite at Sioux Falls at 4 p.m. NFL Football. Regional coverage, New England at Buffalo, Atlanta at Chicago, Las Vegas at Indianapolis, Carolina at Jacksonville, Miami at Baltimore at 1 p.m. Regional coverage, LA Rams at New York Giants, Arizona at Philadelphia, New Orleans at Tampa Bay, San Francisco at Washington, Tennessee at Houston at 1 p.m. Pittsburgh at Seattle at 4:05 p.m. Regional coverage, LA Chargers at Denver, Cincinnati at Kansas City at 4:25 p.m. Green Bay at Minnesota at 8:20 p.m. Rodeo. PBR, Round 2 and Championship Round, Albany, New York at 8 p.m. Soccer, men's. Premier League, Bournemouth at Tottenham Hotspur at 9 a.m. Tennis. United Cup Group Stage, Brisbane ADP WTA Early Rounds at 6 a.m. United Cup Group Stage, Brisbane ADP WTA, Auckland WTA, Hong Kong ADP Early Rounds at 6:30 p.m. United Cup Group Stage, Brisbane ADP WTA, Auckland WTA, Hong Kong ADP Early Rounds at 6 a.m. Monday. Beijing should let mainlanders visit Hong Kong more easily, boost duty-free. South China Morning Post. Hong Kong's delegate to the National People's Congress, Starry Lee Wai-king, has proposed that the central government make it easier for mainland Chinese tourists to visit Hong Kong and increase the duty-free goods allowance to boost flagging retail sales. She suggested allowing more mainland Chinese cities to travel to Hong Kong independently, expanding the multiple entry permit scheme for Shenzhen residents, and increasing the duty-free allowance for personal goods. Lee argued that these measures would benefit small and medium-sized businesses in Hong Kong and help stimulate the economy. Sean McAuliffe, an unexpected new Toronto mayor, municipal flip-flops, and an abrupt Greenbelt reversal, 2023 was a roller coaster of a year. The Toronto Star. The author reflects on the past year in municipal politics, particularly in Toronto. They discuss the surprises and unexpected turns that have occurred, such as John Tory winning his third election as mayor, Olivia Chow becoming mayor, and the reversal on the Greenbelt issue by the Ford government. The author emphasizes the need to pay attention to local politics and civic life, as they can be full of surprises and drama. They also note that while some changes may come quickly, deeper systemic change often takes a long time. Ant completes process of removing Jack Ma's control. Bloomberg. Ant Group has completed the process of removing controlling stakeholders, a year after co-founder Jack Ma promised to cede his dominance. The People's Bank of China has granted an application to remove any controlling shareholders at Ant's Chinese payment platform Alipay, effectively making it a firm without an actual controller. This move is part of Ma's efforts to appease Chinese regulators and will not affect the company's day-to-day operations. Hong Kong's Cathay Pacific vows to avoid repeat of recent flight cancellations. South China Morning Post. Cathay Pacific Airways has committed to avoiding further service cancellations after many of its pilots reached their maximum flying hours and experienced increased fatigue. In an internal memo, Cathay Pacific Director of Flight Operations Chris Kempis said that the airline had cancelled fewer than 1% of flights since mid-December, despite operating nearly 8% more services per day over the Christmas and New Year holiday period. Kempis noted that many pilots had reached or were close to their limit of 900 flying hours over the past 12 months. The airline has 2,532 pilots, down 35% on pre-pandemic numbers. The airline is planning to hire another 5,000 workers in 2024, in addition to the 4,000 it has recruited this year. The Hong Kong Aircrew Officers Association has said that the airline has just over half the captains and first officers it had before the pandemic. Hong Kong faces increased competition for experienced pilots amid a global shortage as carriers such as Southwest Airlines, Delta Airlines, and American Airlines have increased pilot wages by more than 30%. Hong Kong lacrosse coaches divided over focus on Olympic format. South China Morning Post. Coaches in Hong Kong are divided over whether the city should focus on the Olympic format of lacrosse or broaden its scope to include both versions of the game. Gemini Fan Tak Kwan, the head coach of the women's team, believes that the Sixes competition is a better fit for a city with a small population like Hong Kong. She also believes that the skills necessary for the quicker game are more easily transferable to the traditional 10A-side version. On the other hand, Bob Snyder, the men's head coach, believes that the athleticism and skill of local players mean they have the qualities to be successful in both versions. He believes that the focus should be on getting better at lacrosse overall. The coach's opinions come as Hong Kong competes in the World Lacrosse Super Sixes tournament. And that's a wrap on today's news. Let's quickly recap what we've covered. Cathay Pacific has acknowledged that flight cancellations over the holiday period were due to pilots reaching their flying hour limits and increased fatigue. Hong Kong's luxury retail sector is expected to rebound in 2024 as high-end brands return to the city. Ordinary homebuyers in China are taking advantage of oversupply and a sluggish economy to buy foreclosed properties at lower prices. China's new court record system, which restricts access to judicial rulings, has raised concerns about transparency and the future of the judiciary. Presidential candidates in Taiwan have debated the island's relationship with Beijing, with the DPP campaigning for sovereignty separate from China. Hong Kong has launched a new immigration scheme to attract high-net-worth individuals and their families to the city. Hong Kong's elderly population, particularly ethnic minorities, face challenges in accessing support and services. Tesla is expected to announce record deliveries in 2023, but faces the challenge of expanding its customer base to include everyday buyers. Hong Kong delegate Starry Lee Wai-king has proposed measures to make it easier for mainland Chinese tourists to visit Hong Kong and boost retail sales. Ant Group has completed the process of removing controlling stakeholders, fulfilling Jack Ma's promise to cede his dominance. Cathay Pacific has committed to avoiding further flight cancellations after many pilots reached their maximum flying hours. Coaches in Hong Kong are divided over whether the city should focus on the Olympic format or broaden its scope in lacrosse. Now, let's dive into some analysis. First, Cathay Pacific's flight cancellations highlight the challenges faced by airlines in maintaining a sufficient and rested pilot workforce. This issue is not unique to Cathay Pacific and is a result of the global shortage of experienced pilots. The airline's commitment to avoiding further cancellations and its plans to hire more pilots in the future are positive steps towards resolving this issue. In the luxury retail sector, the expected rebound in 2024 is a promising sign for Hong Kong's economy. The return of high-end brands and the availability of premium space at cheaper rates will attract both local and international shoppers. However, the slow recovery in spending by mainland Chinese tourists remains a challenge. The sector will need to find ways to entice these tourists back to Hong Kong, such as offering exclusive promotions and experiences. The surge in foreclosed home purchases by ordinary buyers in China reflects the impact of the country's sluggish economy and oversupply in the property market. The lower prices of foreclosed properties are an attractive opportunity for buyers. This shift from investors to ordinary buyers could potentially stabilize the market and provide opportunities for those looking to purchase their first home. The new court record system in China has raised concerns about transparency and access to judicial rulings. The reduction in public access to court rulings goes against the principle of a sunshine judiciary and raises questions about the future of judicial transparency in China. Open access to judicial documents is crucial for the rule of law and justice, and efforts should be made to ensure transparency and accountability in the legal system. In Taiwan, the debate over the island's relationship with Beijing reflects the ongoing tensions between the DPP and the KMT. The DPP's campaign for sovereignty separate from China is in line with its pro-independence stance, while the KMT's opposition to Taiwan's independence and China's one country, two systems model reflects its more conciliatory approach towards Beijing. This debate will continue to shape Taiwan's political landscape and its relationship with China. Hong Kong's new immigration scheme aims to attract high-net-worth individuals and their families to the city, providing a boost to the economy and the professional services sector. The scheme's success will depend on its ability to attract investors and create a favorable business environment. However, there are concerns about whether the scheme's target is too optimistic, considering the current economic climate and geopolitical tensions. Finally, the involvement of everyday buyers is crucial for Tesla's future growth. While the company has had success in attracting EV enthusiasts, expanding its customer base to include everyday buyers is essential for long-term sustainability. Tesla's efforts to reduce prices and appeal to a wider audience through advertising are positive steps in this direction. However, the company will face increased competition and the challenge of maintaining its growth momentum. And there you have it. Another day of news from around the world. Now, I'd love to hear your thoughts. What do you make of Cathay Pacific's flight cancellations? Do you think Hong Kong's luxury retail sector will rebound as expected? And what are your views on China's new court record system? Join the discussion and let me know your thoughts. Thank you for tuning in. The content above showcases the latest briefing reports and analytical synopses, thoughtfully curated by the 6Do team. These insights stem from a wide array of reputable media outlets, think tanks, government sources, and specialized experts worldwide. We encourage you to explore these sources for a comprehensive perspective. Keep in mind that while the content may not always align with the official standpoint of 6Do Brief, it's not meant to be taken as absolute directives for decision-making. Comprising seasoned media professionals, learned scholars, and accomplished scientists, the 6Do team embodies a trailblazing, fully independent media entity. To customize 6Do Brief to meet your professional needs, you have the option to subscribe to a diverse array of briefings on our website, 6dobrief.com. Regardless of your location, you can conveniently receive 6Do Brief via email.